September. 2nd of September. Dear children, fancy, our dear little chicks have been stolen. Mistress wanted to know how it was that I didn't bark on the night they went, but, well, you know, I didn't hear a thing, so I think it must have been a rat. There's a big one that lives out in the field, or a slinky weasel or a sly stoat. Have you seen a stoat or a weasel? They are very fierce little creatures, not a bit afraid of anything, not even me, so you can tell how brave they are. Mistress has been reading some poems, so I am going to write one too, to show you I can make up poetry nearly as well. It's a poem about our chicks, and Sandy and I bark it all the time we go wandering about the fields looking for the chicken robber. This is it. Someone's been playing tricks and stolen away our dear little chicks. If it's a sharp-eyed, fierce little stoat, I hope he gets toothache all down his throat. And if it's a horrible, savage rat, I hope he meets an enormous cat. And if it's a slinky, sly old weasel, I hope he catches a nasty measle. There, that's our war song as we go hunting for the chicken robbers. Do you like it? Mistress says it's rather fierce, but then we feel fierce. A stamp and a yell from Bobs. 9th of September. Dear children, Bimbo is a funny cat. One day he is as round and as fat as a barrel, and his voice is big and deep when he meows. The next day he looks as thin as can be, and his voice is little and squeaky. You might think he was a different cat. I asked him if he was always the same cat, and he said yes, of course he was. Mistress says it's because he's so very greedy. One day he ate my dinner, and Sandy's dinner, and Pat's dinner, and his own dinner too, and he was too fat to lie down in his basket. Mistress says one day he'll turn into a nice furry little pig, and she'll build a cosy sty for him. I do hope he'll hurry up, because I'd love to see him grunting in a sty. Gillian fills the bird bath each day now, and do you know what she does sometimes? She waters Sandy to make him grow. He's very little, you know, like a puppy, so Gillian thinks if she waters him he will grow big like the flowers. Isn't she funny? A loving grunt from Bobs. 16th of September. Dear children, Mistress told somebody yesterday that a child had found a dandelion 3 feet long, so I thought I would go and find something wonderful too, but all the dandelions I saw had no feet at all. It was most disappointing. Then Sandy and I saw a big spider 8 feet long. What do you think of that? We counted its feet, and there were 8. There really were. So I told Mistress there was a spider in the garden 8 feet long, but she laughed and said that we must mean 8 long feet, not 8 feet long. I don't see any difference at all, do you? I am 4 feet long, and so is Sandy, so is Pat, so is Peter Pat, but all the hens are only 2 feet long, and so are the sparrows. Isn't that right, boys and girls? A clever dog came to see me the other day, and he had found a pencil, and he said he could draw. What can you draw? I asked him. I can draw round oranges, balls, and apples, he said, and looked as grand as can be. Pooh! I said, I can draw something much more difficult than that. I can draw water. I don't believe you, said the dog. Show me. And he gave me his pencil. I don't need a pencil, I said, and I ran off to our big well. I sent the bucket down the well and made it come up full of water. There you are, I said to the dog. Look into the water I've drawn for you. Have a drink. You should have heard Sandy laugh. The roof nearly came off the kennel. A bark 4 feet long from Bobs. 23rd of September. Dear children, what a fright I got the other night. Buttons and buttercups. My nose shivers at the thought of it. I tell you all about it. Sandy and I were sleeping quietly in our kennel when suddenly we heard a dreadful thudding noise. Thud, bang, bang, thud, just like that. We sprang up in our kennel and growled. And then came another bang and another right on our kennel roof. Burglars, I said. Robbers, Sandy said. Come to steal our biscuits, I growled. Come to get my best bones, Sandy woofed. Let's go and bite them, I cried. So out we rushed, as brave as could be. But will you believe it? Those robbers weren't a bit frightened. No, they just sat up in the tree over our kennel and threw things at us. Bang! Something hard hit me on the nose. Thud! Something hit Sandy on the tail, and he yelped and fled into the kennel at once, but I stayed outside barking, and then something hit me on the back, and 2 things struck me on my head, so I thought I would be safer inside the kennel. I didn't want to be killed. In the morning, boys and girls, we looked for the robbers, but there weren't any. It was the wind that had blown the apples off the tree, and they had come thudding into our yard. I did feel silly. A bang thud from Bobs. 30th of September. Dear children, last night in the garden there grew up a most enormous white thing. I asked Jenny what it was, and she said it was a toadstool. Fancy that! Do you know that toads grew stools for themselves? Well, I told Sandy, and he said it would be fun to see which toad it belonged to. So we went and sat by it to see which toad in the garden came to sit on it. But though we waited for ages, no toad came, so we thought we would go and get one. Well, I found one first, crawling along in the wet grass, so I picked it up in my mouth, quite gently, you know, to take it to sit on the toadstool. But oh, bones and biscuits, boys and girls, it suddenly made itself taste so horrible that I simply had to drop it. I hung my tongue out and then rushed off for a drink of water. Sandy laughed at me and woofed, "Is the toad too heavy? Poor old Bubs." So I said, "Well, you see if you can carry it, Sandy. You may be stronger than I am." "Of course I am," said Sandy. So he picked up the toad at once and ran to the toadstool with it. And then, boys and girls, a dreadful expression came over his face. Then he dropped the toad in a hurry. He had tasted it too, so he went to have a drink as well. And then he said, "Well, if no toad sits on that stool, I'm not going to waste it. I'll sit on it myself." So he did. And now there isn't much of that lovely big toadstool left. A nice bit of toadstool from Bubs.